Welcome to the Simple Money Systems. This is the go-to podcast for exceptional women who are eager to pay off their debt and live a fearless, meaningful life with confidence and joy. Hi, Diana Gallas here. I am a mom to a special needs child, a caregiver to a loved one, and the host of this show for you, who is determined to break free from debt without sacrificing what you value most. Discover here simple money strategies to set you free from debt culture, money wasting, and ever-changing mode of currency and market volatility. If you're ready to say yes to a debt-free life and exchange everything that hasn't worked for a plan that will, results that are undeniable, like peace of mind, better sleep, improved mood, and more money in your pocket, this podcast is for you. Hug your bug or boo, roll up those sleeves, and get your life out of debt into your freedom land with confidence. Today, you are in for a true retreat. So grab your favorite notebook and a pen and maybe even brew that cup of organic herb tea you've been craving. It's time to get your headphones in because we have a special guest who radiates warmth, wisdom, and a deep love for holistic living. Caroline is a homeschooling mom to 4 incredible kids. Each day, weaving the threads of education, love, and intentional living into the fabric of your family's life. But her journey doesn't stop there. She's a passionate advocate for holistic wellness, a stacking habits nerd, and someone who believes in nurturing the body, mind, and spirit with all things natural. Through her podcast, Healthy Habits for Moms, Caroline shares her personal journey of embracing holistic habits, overcoming challenges, and finding balance in the beautiful chaos of motherhood. She offers practical tips, heartfelt encouragement, and a gentle reminder that caring for ourselves isn't selfish. Friends, it's essential. So, whether you're a fellow homeschooling parent, someone seeking to live more intentionally, or simply in need of a dose of inspiration, you're in the right place. Now, let's dive in and hear from Caroline herself. Hey, Caroline. I'm so happy that you are here and we finally can chat about what you do and who you are, and so you can share with us some grains of wisdom and helpful tips to our listeners here on Simple Money Systems.
Thank you, Diana. I am really excited to be on today. I know we have totally different things that we teach, but habits is such a big part of any aspect of life. So I'm really excited to share with your listeners. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, that's amazing. So, can you tell us a little bit yourself, what you do, maybe a little bit about your family, maybe something different about you, or maybe a fun part, so we all can remember better?
Okay, well, I am a homeschooling mom of 4, and I have been a mom since I was a baby myself. I got started with, motherhood at 19. So this has been a journey of going on, well, my oldest is 18. So I've been a mom for 18 years. And this whole journey started when I was pregnant with my first, just because I suddenly had this responsibility of taking care of this life growing inside of me. And so I wanted to pursue health in every way I possibly could. And so over the years, that has led me to pursuing a lot of different things. but I've really come to just really value holistic health and the habits, the daily habits and lifestyle choices that support that. And I've chosen to focus my podcast on healthy habits because, as someone who has really struggled over the years with lots of different things, the thing I noticed was that my habits were what was really holding me back. I knew a lot. I knew the right things to do. I had a lot of resources at my fingertips, but I did not have the knowledge about habits and, really being able to implement habits in a way that would empower me to put all this knowledge and resources to use in a way that would actually work and make changes. So that's something about me. I am actually really bad at habits. And as far as my history goes, and that's why I got into habits, is because I struggled so much with them that I knew that was like the thing that I had to figure out. I had a lot of other great things going for me, but the habits was what really was messing me up. So I really became a student of how I could change that part of my mind, the way that I worked, to really get better at building good habits and having this sustainable lifestyle. So that's kind of how I got there.
That's amazing because I am hearing you, what you are telling, and I'm relating this to myself because I know a lot of good ways to do things, even to do my budgeting, or even if I want to lose weight, anything in life. And I know the steps. I know exactly steps, what to take. But what holds me back, it's because I never apply it. I just have it in my mind, all the right things to do. I have it in my mind and I hold it thinking this will move me somehow, but I just stay stuck. And every day comes, and I'll think, well, I'll just skip today and I'll start tomorrow. But maybe, Caroline, can you give us maybe some practical advice? What is the trigger? What is it like? I really need to be hard on myself and kind of like I gotta do that, or what is that secret sauce here?
Well, one thing that I think is really hard is that I think we, as humans, we don't like change. So we're wired for, what's comfortable, what we already know. And we're going to we have these ruts, right, in our brains. And we want to stay in those ruts because that's what, our brain is already used to doing. So in order for us to make big changes, we kind of have to build new pathways. And it takes a lot of intentional pursuing those things. And I think one of the biggest things is you have to have something that's either really driving you to pursue, and it's usually out of pain or pleasure. So a lot of times, until we can really identify that pain point and we understand, I'm not willing to stay in this, it's going to be really hard to change our habits. And for me, I didn't really start going after habit change until I was in a place where I was suffering. I could see my life 10 years down the road and I didn't like what it looked like. I realized that if I didn't commit to making some major changes, that I wasn't going to be the mom I wanted to be 10 years down the road. I wasn't going to be the wife that I wanted to be 10 years down the road. And I wasn't going to be, just the person that God made me to be, to fulfill his calling and purpose in my life, if I didn't really just commit to making changes. And of course, I don't ever make huge major changes right away, because that never goes well, right? it was that, I got to that point where I saw like I had to do something.
Friends, before we return to our conversation with Caroline, I want to take a moment to share an exciting opportunity with you right here on Simple Money Systems. If you're inspired by Caroline's approach to intentional living and ready to take control of your financial future, I invite you to join my debt-free budgeting course. This course is designed to help you build simple, sustainable financial habits that will free you from the burden of debt, eliminate constant financial worry, and empower you to dream big once again. Whether you're just starting your financial journey or looking to refine your existing financial habits, this course provides practical tools and guidance to help you live a life of financial freedom. Are you ready to take the first step? Then go ahead and visit my website at dianagalas.com. It's dianagalas.com, so you can learn more and sign up today for the course. Let's work together to create a financial future you're excited about.
So I feel like a lot of us, we think we want change, but we maybe haven't gotten to the point where we really see how much we need it. And so, maybe you are at that point and you just don't know where to start. So I know this kind of goes beyond your question, but the biggest thing is to just, maybe just identify that one thing that And I think all of us have that one thing that we just know deep in our gut that we have to make a change there. And for me, it was my mornings. As a stay-at-home homeschooling mom for the last, I don't know how many years, mornings have been a struggle for me because I don't have to get up and be somewhere at a certain time. And so that has always been a huge struggle of mine. And I knew that I really needed to surrender that to God. And so that was like the one thing that I just knew in my heart that was where I had to start. So I think it's just, having that, intuition that there's this one thing that you have to surrender and you have to start small.
Wonderful. Well, so in order to start small, like in the mornings, I know for many people, even for myself, it's very hard to get up in the morning if you are like a working from home or a homeschool mom. And so do you actually set up your alarm in the morning to wake up early and I'm just trying to identify how to set this alarm up and it would not, make me crazy. Like, oh my goodness, I need to wake up every morning with alarm.
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, it was kind of like I tried the alarms and I tried, waking up at a time that I had this expectation in my head that, I should be getting up at this time. But I've actually come to realize that, we have the gift. If you do have the gift of working from home or homeschooling or, whatever that may be, you just, you have to kind of take inventory of what works for you. So I'm someone who needs more sleep than my husband. I don't function well on like less than 8 hours of sleep. And I just had to be like, okay, that's the reality of my body and my health needs that much sleep. And so I'm not going to beat myself up for not getting up at 5 a.m, right? So I've had to pick something that was realistic for me, that was still going to be healthy and make sure that I'm getting the rest that I need. I actually started changing how I thought about the mornings before really committing to waking up earlier. And so that was something I learned from another person that teaches. It's called the Miracle Morning. Anyways, you can look that up if you're interested in actually like specific morning routine stuff. he talked about, just changing your language, your mindset, how you speak to yourself, how you think about, this thing you're working on. And that actually was one of the first things that really changed my mornings, because I went from dreading the alarm and like just fighting with myself to get up to actually feeling more awake, feeling like I actually wanted to get up. So that was one of the biggest things, is just making a list of these things that changed my mindset about mornings. Another thing that has helped me, and this is something I teach a lot in my podcast, is getting your circadian rhythm more in line with the sunrise. So if you struggle with getting up, just start getting early sunlight as soon as you can. And that will actually make a big difference in how your body wakes up in the morning. I have gone from not even knowing who I was or what day it was to just waking up without the alarm and feeling wakeful and ready to get up. So even just, there's a lot of different things going on with your mind, your body. So it kind of depends on what's holding you back.
Interesting. I really like that idea about the sunrise, waking up naturally with the sunrise. So when we talk about like getting up in the morning and to have your morning hour, well, I noticed from my experience, my mornings actually, Caroline, they start from the night before. How do you look at it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I'm not in the space of, for one, like you said, a night routine that's preparing you for tomorrow, I used to lay in bed thinking about all of the things, the to-dos, my kids, and I would just lay there awake for too long, and that would affect my ability to wake up the next morning. So I started, this night routine of just writing things down so that it was out of my head and I could, let it go and give it to God and then be at peace. So another thing was just having, if depending on what you're doing in the morning, like if I'm going to get up and I'm going to be working out or I'm going to be having my quiet time with God, having that already figured out, so you're not having to make those decisions the next morning. Because I think sometimes when we have to think about something too much, we have to make too many decisions, it's too much friction. And that's what stops us from really following through with our habits, when there's just too much friction. And so having that all figured out before you go to bed makes it so much easier to get up in the morning and just go through the motions of those habits.
All right. Thank you so much for clarifying this. And now, Caroline, I wanted to ask you, can you maybe give us and our listeners maybe a quick snapshot of what you teach about habits and maybe a little view or maybe dive into your practice, what you do, how you do?
Yeah. So I really try first to listen to what's going on in, as far as health habits. I of course speak to moms. So that entails, getting to know what their life is like with their kids and the daily schedules and all of that. And just, finding that one thing that can make a difference. So for everyone, it's going to be a little bit different. And just focusing on those core, like foundational things that sustain our health. And then figuring that out, we can build a habit. And that, of course, is not as easy as it sounds. So I always try to just keep something starting out under 2 minutes. So if you're trying to start a habit that takes more than 2 minutes, especially in the initial stages of building, the chances is that you're going to probably stick to it for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then you're going to get burnout and it's just going to fall apart. And so the best thing is to find something that you can do for 2 minutes or less and just start building the foundation of a habit. You don't necessarily have to be doing all of the things that you will eventually, and just keep it very small and manageable where you literally can't say no to it. That's something that I started out a couple of years ago with my workout routines, because I've always struggled to work out consistently. And I made a deal with myself that, if the time is this small, I can't say no to that, because if I can't fit in, 5 minutes of, a little workout, then what am I doing? So having something super small where it's just an easy yes, it makes a huge difference. And once you can lay that foundation, you can start adding things on. And I think that's the really cool part about habit building, is that once you lay a foundation for a small habit, it becomes this trigger for being able to add other things on. So for me, mornings are like my biggest habit. I call it habit stacking, is where, I've gone from doing the zombie walk to the coffee maker and just kind of existing for the first, hour of the morning, to being super intentional about the first thing that I'm doing in the morning isn't coffee anymore. It's something that's super helpful for my body. And once that became really solid, now I have these other things that I've layered on to the point now where I have this really beautiful morning routine that just grounds me. I spend a lot more time with God. I spend a lot more time in prayer and meditation and just seeking God. And for me, that's the biggest change, like the most worthy change, because I feel that everything else stems from having that time with God to really know what I'm about. Before I had built to the point where it was just a part of my life, it was so hit and miss, especially as a mom. Some mornings you wake up and, your kids are already up and causing trouble and asking things of you. And, you're just basically going from sleeping straight into working, right? This has just been such a huge part of change for me, because I really get connected with God. I get connected with like what my purpose is. I get clear on what I'm doing in the day. So that's another part of that, is, just having a lot of clarity about my schedule, what I'm focusing on, what I'm prioritizing before I get sucked into the demands on my time.
Caroline, I love this idea. In the morning when you get up, and instead of going and getting your coffee, you replace this maybe not as healthy habit with something that actually healthy, that builds you up. And when you start incorporating your healthy habits, when you start seeing great results, when your day, instead of being hot mess express, when you get clarity and you just have, that joy, you feel accomplished, you feel fulfilled, instead of, dragging your feet all day long. And then I just love this idea to replacing bad habits with ones that actually build you up. And because the outcome, and you are getting drawn to these good habits, right?
Yes, of course, with habits, it's like when you first start, it's so hard and you fight it every single day until you don't, until it actually kind of flips and you crave it and you desire it. And I'm to the point now where if I don't, stuff happens to where I don't get that morning routine, I just feel so deprived because it's become such an important part of my day that has just changed my whole day is changed because of it.
All right, Caroline, I have one question that one myth about building habits that drives you a little crazy.
I guess, I mean, I don't know that I know what other people think about habits, but I know something that I used to think about habits that is super annoying because now that, I've done a lot of work with it, it's not true. I used to think that, once you create a habit to the point where it's, really solid, you've been doing it for, I actually to the point now where 2 years, I feel like is really how long it takes for a habit to become totally subconscious, where you just don't really think about it anymore, that you don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's not true because, kind of like I mentioned earlier, our brains have, these pathways that are like ruts. It's like when you're, driving down the road and your tire gets in a rut in the road, it's so hard to get out of it, right? Well, that's how it is with our brains. And with good habits, that's actually great because we stay in those good habits once we build them. But the problem is that those ruts from our old habits are still there. And so things can happen to where we get into a different rut and get stuck in that rut. So we still have to be really aware and intentional about our habits, no matter how long we've been doing something, because stuff happens, life happens, and we can actually get thrown off our routine. We can, whether that's our health, seasons of life, things that happen with our kids, so many things can come along and get us into the rut of our old habits. And if we're not paying attention, we'll get stuck in that again. And so that's something that, I wish it wasn't that way. I wish that once you built a good habit, that was it. You didn't have to think about it ever again. But the reality is that you have to always be intentional and, really have boundaries around those good habits, because if you're not careful, something's going to come along eventually. And if you're not really guarding it and protecting it, you're going to get thrown off and end up in bad habits again.
I really like that idea that you mentioned, Caroline, about building boundaries, because our lives, for some reason, and you also mentioned about our brains, how they're set up, and how we think and how we operate, that we constantly need to have that reminder about, something that takes a little bit more effort. And for some reason, not as healthy habits, it's so easy for them to creep in. And then it just takes another step, another effort to build a good and healthy habit, and not just build it and just keep going with this and cultivating your habit, and you're maybe adjusting your lifestyle to eventually that actually makes you a better person and more productive and more like better mom, maybe better daughter, better sister, and just to realize yourself better in life and feel fulfilled and eventually used by God, and to realize your calling and be who you are called to be. All right. So, Caroline, before we go, I wanted to ask you if you can, with all your wisdom and a ton of inspiration that you provided to us in this interview, if your message today could plant just one seed of hope in someone's life, what would you want it to be?
Well, I think for me, it would be that one simple habit can change your whole life. If you're willing to commit to building just one habit, and like I said, starting out in just 2 minutes a day, 2 years down the road, you're going to see a massive, massive change. I think just don't ever underestimate the power of a tiny change, because it's like this snowball effect that once you get it going and get it rolling forward, it just gains momentum and it gains mass. And you're just going to be blown away by how starting that one thing 2 years from now is going to make a huge difference in every area of your life.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Caroline, and now we want to know how to connect with you, where to find you, and if our listeners, my audience want to ask you any question, or maybe they got interest in maybe coaching with you, and maybe if you can provide them some guidance and help, where we can find you and how we connect with you.
Yeah, they can find me at the Healthy Habits for Moms podcast. And if they go there, they can, start listening and getting some tools and resources right away. And if they are interested in connecting with me personally, they can just go to the links in my show notes to find my email and all of the different things.
All right, wonderful. And also, I will add your links to this show, to this episode right below the show notes, so they can connect with you. And hopefully, our listeners get what they needed to hear. And we'll see you back soon and connect with you.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, Diana.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
And before we wrap up today's episode, I have a question for you. Friend, what's one habit you've always wanted to start but have been putting off? Maybe it's checking your bank balance every morning, or setting aside time for self-care, or maybe planning your meals for the week. Well, today is the day to begin. If you found today's episode inspiring and helpful, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Because your feedback not only helps me improve, but also allows others to discover this space where we embrace intentional living and holistic wellness. And if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, please share it with them. Let's spread the word and support each other in our journeys toward a more balanced and fulfilling debt-free life. And have a money question or a topic you'd like me to cover? Then go ahead and send it my way to diana@dianagalas.com. It's diana@dianagalas.com. I would love to feature it in an upcoming episode and provide you with the answers and insights you're seeking. And please remember, as Caroline beautifully shared today, small habits can lead to big transformations. So take that first step, no matter how small, and keep moving forward. And until next time, keep nurturing your mind, body, and your finances. Thank you for tuning into the Simple Money Systems podcast. I hope you found this episode insightful, and I truly believe that a mom like you can be an inspiration to many others just by simply sharing this podcast and leaving a path of precious gems for those moms who are yet to find them. So together, we can create a community of exceptional moms who stand behind each other. Would you share it with other ladies so they can also find a way to a purposeful, debt-free life? Your precious gem is yet to shine. Get it out and share your light with others. Take a good care of yourself, and I meet you right back here at the Simple Money Systems, where your financial freedom journey begins.